Nação. This is John Roberto from Media Flamengo, broadcast English. I'm here with Rubro Negro Bruno Mora, who's introduced to us by Fernando Roncari from Radio Flamengo. Bruno is from YouTube channel Inflamados. First, Bruno, I would like to thank you for your joining on this broadcast. And first, to start, could you tell us, please, how did you start your relationship as a Flamengo fan? Thank you.
Hi, Trajano. Hi, watchers from Media Flamengo. It's a pleasure to be here with you guys. And I'm really excited to do this English broadcast. Something that I'm not used to because all the time I'm doing in Portuguese. So it's a pleasure to be doing this broadcast, new style. And so I'm a friend of Roncari and I'm part of Inflamados. So that's how we pursued Flamengo nowadays. Well, Flamengo for me it's funny because I was born, I'm not even from Rio de Janeiro, I was born in São Paulo. But my dad was from Rio and I was born in São Paulo and then we moved to Rio because my dad wanted to live in Rio. So we moved to Rio and I was probably like 3 or 4 years old. And that was in the gold age of Flamengo in the 80s, around 1980, 1981.
Good times.
Good times. And so everybody in school was Flamengo, everybody was Flamengo. And Flamengo had a great team, like the best team ever. So I in school, like I became Flamengo. It's funny because my dad, my family, they're all Vascaínos. They're all Vasco fans. Yeah, they were all Vasco fans. Even my dad was a Vasco fan, but he told me like one day you came home, son. One day you came home, and you said, "Dad, I want a Flamengo jersey." He's like, "What do you mean?" I was like, "No, I want a Flamengo jersey," and I gotta thank him. I gotta thank him. He was very nice, and he said he gave me a Flamengo jersey, so he didn't force me to be Vasco da Gama. He understood and he let me made my decision, my choice, and he got me a Flamengo jersey, and that was it. I became Flamengo. And it's funny because at that time, football was different. And one of my first memory is like the final in 1980, Flamengo Atlético Mineiro.
Yeah, you're watching TV this game.
Yeah, yes. So that's my first memory as a Flamengo fan. And my dad and my mom, and my cousin and my family went to this game.
Yeah,
and they were not Flamengo, and they went to this game. At that time we lived in Rio, and I remember as was yesterday. I remember I was with the maid. I was with my maid, and we stayed at home. Of course, I was a kid. She was the caretaker, and I remember that my family went to the game, and I watched the game on TV, and I remember Flamengo being the champion, and that's something that it's my memory, and like football was different at that time, and then everybody went to games, and so that's something really strong. And I remember Flamengo being the champion, and that's my first memory. And so my Flamengo, my rubro-negrismo, being a Flamengo fan, it really comes from being in Rio de Janeiro and being at that exactly time, and space of Flamengo being the best team in the world, and 1980, 1981. So that's how I became Flamengo, and like it's something really strong, because uh, after that we moved to São Paulo for a long time, and I always was Flamengo, and I never wanted to do it. I never wanted to do anything to do it. I never want to do any. I never had anything to do with São Paulo teams, which were strong, But I never wanted to do anything with those teams, and I always kept my Flamengo traditions and went to the games, traveled, and now I've been in the United States. I live in the United States for 18 years. I've been in the United States for 18 years, and the passion, it gets stronger and stronger. Even though I try to stop, I try to like put a block sometimes, but it's something hard to beat. Like the passion for Flamengo it's amazing, and it's something that's here. I'm still like if I lived in Brazil, and that's kind of weird for people. People say, "Do you still watch Flamengo like that?" Yeah, I watch Flamengo. It's just like in my blood. It's like it's hard to explain. This passion is it's amazing, and
Yeah.
I'm on YouTube talking about Flamengo, and I'm in on the internet, and whenever I can, I go to the games. Whenever I can, I go to Brazil and I go to the games.
Yeah, no, I understand this. I'm calling from Melbourne, Australia, the same. And once you become a Flamengo fan, you can never stop. And it's good to hear that the distance hasn't stopped your passion to continue being a Flamengo fan. But Bruno, talk about me. As I said, the game, first round of Rio de Janeiro League, Flamengo versus Bangu. I just honestly just watched second half. I was asleep in the first half, and I guess you watched bits and pieces of the game. What are your impressions now for this first game, official game, let's say?
Yeah, like as I also, to be honest, I like watched parts of the games. I didn't watch the whole game because I was at work. That's something that we do a lot here in the United States, work. So it's
Yeah,
hard. It's hard to get free time. You gotta work a lot. So, but I watch online here. I have the Sport TV. I have the channel here, so I watch it. A few parts of the game, and it's like I was saying before. What attract me to that game is like the romantic. Nowadays, if you watch state leagues like that, like Campeonato Carioca, especially Campeonato Carioca, you go for the romantic time. So Flamengo e Bangu is a game that had really in the past had really good games, and Bangu always had a good team in the past, but nowadays is different. So you go for that kind of feeling, you go for the feeling of like, okay, it's a romantic way to watch a game, So, but in reality, it's not a big test for Flamengo. It's you can compare the the teams and the budgets. It's like Bangu is like what would be Bangu? It's like third division in the
yeah,
Brazilian,
I,
third division, fourth division. So
correct.
it's a good test for like the beginning of the season, and we can't give like a very uh, special comment about the team, but we can see some like old like we can see some old tendencies of the team. We could analyze some old tendencies of the team, like and especially the leadership of Diego. Like
Yeah,
like it's still there. Even though We don't even know if he's gonna remain uh, playing for Flamengo the whole year. We don't know his situation, but you can see that Flamengo still has the team still has the influence of Diego, and even with Abel, even with the new coach Abel, So that's something that I would love to give him the benefit of doubt, because I analyze him as a good player. He's a good player. He has potential, but we have seen like the last couple of years his attitude and the way he pursued the game. The way he managed the whole thing about Diego. Like being the leadership. I don't know. I don't trust that. I don't trust that. Not like I could give him the benefit of doubt and maybe he'll change, because Flamengo is signing all these new players, Flamengo is signing all these new stars. So he might change his attitude, but I don't know, So that's something that's in the back of my head, That's something that's in the back of my head, and his last 2 years, So that kind of worries me, and I really don't want to see the influence of Diego in the new crew, in the new with the new players coming. I don't want Flamengo to repeat the last couple of years, where Flamengo didn't wasn't really Flamengo, like even though he got two second places, he got like runner up in Brazilian league, and we got vice second, and I lost the finals and a couple of cups. Um, we could do better, and we know that uh, in the background there was an influence of Diego and Rever, the defender Rever, uh, that wasn't good for the crew, for the whole team, So that kind of worries me a little bit. Hopefully, Abel will be able to manage that. I don't know. It's because Diego is like, even though he's got all that media training, and good guy, the way he behaves sometimes is not like uh, I, I would like to see the number 10 Flamengo behavior, his attitudes.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you as well. I personally think that the way this Diego Ribas behaves is like, the last 6 years, it's Flamengo, it's completely different Flamengo from the past, where Flamengo had players committed, playing for the jersey. Whereas this Diego Ribas, implies to me is more an actor. But what surprised me when he came off the ground and a lot of fans start clapping and support him. So it's hard to, I guess, to change if the coach sees that most of the fans in the stadium like his performance. I don't think he's going to change. It's hard to see how things going to improve. And but for the second half, Bruno, I watched. I just felt that Flamengo didn't have any creativity and run out of ideas. And then Abel took off, Diego and Everton Ribeiro, and there was no creative players. He put a Pires plus around that's, he was playing out the position, in my opinion, on the left, and with three defense midfielders. And with one more player, it was just very strange. Abel's move. What do you think about? I'm not sure if you watched the start of the game or end of the game, but the way The way Flamengo, finished the game was very, very strange. With three defensive midfielders, it played with one more player. What do you think about that?
I am here.
Yeah, not a problem.
Yeah, so I don't know. That's weird. I thought that was weird too. And I don't know. It's like Trajano is the first game of the season. Abel is still trying to he's trying to know the players. Like he doesn't have like a completely knowledge about the team. Like so. I think he's trying to effectively know the players and give chances for other players to get on the field, and be part of the game. But I think the tendency of the football nowadays is to establish a defensive tactic. I think what he's gonna do is it is build defensive midfield and a defensive and team. Even though he's gonna play with the three guys and like Bruno Henrique or Everton Ribeiro or Gabigol and Rascaeta. I think the tendency of the coaches nowadays, of the managers, is to try to build a defensive system. Because if you look at the teams that were champions, like of the Brazilian league, what were the last champions?
Palmeiras, né?
Corinthians,
Exactly.
Corinthians and Palmeiras. So those teams had a defensive style, of playing of game. So with Filipão and then with Carrilli was pretty much defense
Correct.
in Corinthians. So I think Abel, we're not looking at this game. He's not looking at a game against Bangu. That's nothing. This is just like a practice for Flamengo. So he's looking at he wants to see the team acting and playing with the defensive guys, because when he goes to the major with the high interest games, with the stronger teams, he's gonna build a defensive team, because I think that's how they all think. That's how they all think, especially in different parts of the game. At the end of the game, if you're winning a game against Palmeiras, for example, let's say Flamengo is winning the game 2-1 against Palmeiras, he might put the defensive midfielders. He might put defensive players to hold that a score to end the game and get the 3 points. That's why I think he did it.
Exactly. Maybe he's preempting that he might need to play a little bit more defensive and in order to have a more consistent
Yeah,
performance.
exactly. In terms of building a defensive system, defensive midfield, and build like a strong defense, so you don't get that goal. Because in soccer, football, it's very unfair. You might have had 10 chances to score 2 goals, and the other team only have 2 chances, and they scored 2 goals. So they try to minimize that situation. So I think that's why Abel is doing that. It doesn't matter Bangu. People say, why is he playing with 3 defense midfielders at the end of the game? That game doesn't matter. It doesn't matter for the big picture. For the big picture, that game doesn't matter. So That's what I think he's doing. Yeah.
Okay. Now I understand your point of view, and I guess let's be honest. The main objective, main goal in football is to win 3 points, and Flamengo managed to do that. So that's not you can play the best football and still not win the game, and go back with no points or 1 point, but at least Flamengo managed to get 3 points. So let's be honest, and of course you can play champagne football, but 3 points in the bag, that's sometimes more important than play nice. So how many times you go there, play nice, and don't get anything, and
Yes.
so
Yeah.
it's
And
also
then like and then Flamengo, honestly, Flamengo could have won this game 4-1, like 5-1.
yeah,
Like he had so many chances. I saw uh, that the team we missed so many goals. The keeper Bangu's keeper did a good job and was able to avoid goals. And but that's because like the team is like the first game of the season. Pretty much. Besides the Florida Cup, that's like, let's say that's the third game of the season. Okay, and it's hot. And the players are not in the best condition yet. They haven't achieved the best condition. So if this game was 3 months from now, Flamengo could have won like 5-0 easily.
yeah,
So that's how we. That's how I see it. It's just it's just like a practice. It was a practice, and I think that whatever he did is to look at the movements of the players on the field, and how he's gonna build a strong defensive system for the games to come. For the real games. That's how it is.
yeah. No, it's I understand the point of view. It's just thinking about sometimes you got to chase for a result. Perhaps he could also be a bit more offensive, but I guess he's rotate some players there, see how they perform, and I mean, assume that he's getting some feedback of some performance of those players, and once he have the more players, he can pick the best for a particular game. And
Exactly.
and
And also, Trajan, we don't right now we don't have many options, right? We really don't have many options. We've lost a few players, and the players that we signed are not available yet. So we don't even have a bench. So
correct,
I
yeah,
think I think he did what was. I think the subs and whatever he did was what he could do. Maybe there's only three subs, and I I think he did whatever was available.
yeah. And then let's give the benefit of the doubt to Abel anyway, just first game, first official game, and let's hope that I think the midweek game it probably is going to go for another bunch of players, and he said he's going to rotate. So maybe the people that the players didn't make up will get a run now midweek, and I think the next weekend is against Botafogo. I'm not sure if it's, and I think Botafogo lost 3-1, from what I heard.
Yes, he had a big loss.
And so it's not surprising. And also Fluminense had a draw, and so the so-called big clubs not having a good performance against
No, yeah,
those.
yeah, yeah. Because of the time of the year. It's the beginning of the season, and these teams they're just being like they've been together for a couple weeks. And these others, the small clubs of the league, of the Rio de Janeiro league, they've been they've been practicing for a while. They just didn't start. That's because these teams, that's their uh, ecstasy right now. That's their
Yeah,
main tournament. That's the main competition. So they've been practicing for a while. So it makes a difference, and physically and timing and but once the big clubs start to catch up physically and with training and practicing, that then then that's it. Like there's no more comparison. Like
Yeah,
it's you can't compare the level the level of the teams.
exactly. The physical conditioning now is
Yeah,
big gap between those small clubs been training for a few
exactly.
weeks now compared to Flamengo is probably 2 weeks now,
Yeah,
and so it's still a big gap there physically. And I mean, I was quite surprised in the second half. Bangu was all right physically. I didn't see anything that players collapse on the ground, anything like. They still kept playing there, running. I mean, being under the pump, but they still could hold. It was not easy beat, if you know what I mean. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, yeah. It's a big difference. And then plus Flamengo, by going to the Florida Cup, it I think it delayed. I think even though like it was nice, Flamengo won. I think delayed a little bit. It's delayed Flamengo's physical condition and practice because of the trip, because of the duties that the team had to go do there and go to the store
yeah,
and do marketing, and do like to Adidas store and do some marketing uh, uh, plays there. So I think Flamengo. If Flamengo was training for that game for the last couple weeks at the training center, and focusing on that team, on that game, would be different. Would be a different performance today, you know. But that's how it is, Like they have to go, and that was important for the brand, to go to Florida Cup. All that marketing is very important.
that's right. And yeah, it's first game, and I guess got to be a little bit more patient, and wait that
Oh yeah,
there
it's
there can be panic for the first official game for the season.
no,
Yes.
there's no panic. It's I think we need to look at this way. Like we need to fix what was wrong last year, last couple of years, and we need to identify the weakness, and we need to identify uh, where we where the big mistakes were made, and we need to fix that. Like I said at the beginning of the conversation, I said like we need to watch Diego, and we need to watch what his importance is with the group of players, like where he's gonna stand and what his attitude is gonna be uh, in the background, in the back behind the scenes, So uh, I think that's one of the points that Abel's gonna have to work out and pay attention and like not let the mistakes of the past arise in 2019, where everybody is expecting a different Flamengo, a Flamengo that's going to be willing, a Flamengo that's going to have a will for victory, a Flamengo that's going to be more Flamengo than it was last couple of years, So I think that's his big challenge right now because he's got a good team. He's got great players, He's gonna have to manage the egos, He's gonna have to manage the players trying to be stars, And I think that's his, and he's gonna have to. He really doesn't like on the field tactically. I don't think he has a big challenge because we have so many good players. He's gonna have to. I think his biggest challenge is to manage all these egos, like
Exactly.
all these personalities.
And for me, I mean, I I guess, like or not, this Diego Ribas, I think he knows how to manipulate the crowd, the fans anyway, and that's the reason why the fans support him when he came off the pitch. But how he's gonna adjust if the coach sending him to the bench with those new players coming? So that he can be a negative influence. This Diego Ribas thinking that you know what I mean. He wants to be in the starting level, and knowing that he's gonna be sitting on the bench, he might start to get annoyed and be a bad influence. So it's I'm not sure how he's gonna behave, how he's gonna cope. You know what I mean? It's
Yes,
it's something
yes,
to that can be very risky. I mean, I don't know him very well, but from what I can see, he's a guy that really knows how to manipulate, how to control people, and
yes. He does. He's got the well. First of all, he's got the media, behind
exactly,
him. He's got the media behind him, and he has media training, and he knows how to speak on the microphone, and he knows how to uh, he knows he's very rational. He's
yeah,
not emotional. So that's my biggest problem with him. Like, he's not emotional. He's not passionate enough for Flamengo.
nah,
He is, on the other hand, very professional.
yeah,
He is very professional. He's very he takes care of himself. And there's nothing we can say about him. Like, for him not being professional or being like not being responsible. He is. So that makes hard to like combat him. That makes hard to like be against him because of that. Because of that profile. Uh, but I think it's fake.
yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah,
it's it's fake because like what we fans want is heart and passion
yeah,
and respect, and not for the jersey, like you said, for the club, not just for his career or for his for his image, on the camera, on TV, But so he has this training, and he's like sponsors like it,
yeah,
like if you go talk to Adidas, they're very secure and they like Diego because of his image, and they plus they help create even a more magnified image for that kind of player so they can sell more products.
yeah,
So that's the problem. Like in the past we had players that like a big corporation, a big company will never support them, but they were good for the team. They were good for the like the feeling of being Flamengo. Like players that would not be professional, but on the field they would represent what we cared about, what we fans cared about, what we fans were worried about. So there's a big duality there, of the professional and then the passionate player. And I think that's a problem of the modern football.
yeah. And I think you said it quite well. Diego is for me, as you said, is a fake, and it's a balance between as a fake player like him and a true Flamengo player that plays for the jersey, plays with respect, shows commitment, play with physical, but probably not the best meant to sell jerseys. But I still prefer players that still own the Flamengo jersey as opposed to a fake player like Ribas. That
Exactly.
maybe Ribas represent the last 6 years of Flamengo that was becoming, unfortunately, a fake club, no? Not a club that probably you and me learn to love, no? And it's going through a transition. But in my opinion, once the Flamengo loses its culture, its history, you become another Botafogo, another Fluminense, and it'll be all over. I mean, I don't think most of the most of the fans support Flamengo because that connection to the past where players is to, once they enter the field, is to run until the last minute. I mean, and show true commitment. I think that's what most of the fans want to see. What do you think, Bruno?
Hello.
Hello.
Hi. Yeah, it's a transition, Trajano and people on the channel. Media Flamengo is a transition that's happening right now. Like it's a transition of the old football and the roots football to the new football. Uh, to this new concept of football that's been in Europe for a while, but now it's arriving in Brazil for the last few years. Um, but I don't think like Flamengo, we still have the most fans. We're the biggest club in Brazil because we have the most fans. Like. But the thing is, if we lose our roots, if we don't follow at least a path, uh, like a guidance, if we don't follow guidance, what Flamengo is, we might lose our fans in the long term, in the long run. If we lose the spirit of Flamengo, we might lose the fans in the long run, and then Flamengo will fall, and then Flamengo will become a Botafogo, or Fluminense, or even São Paulo, even the Santos, and even the Paulista teams, so because right now we cannot compare Flamengo to any club in Brazil because Flamengo is really different, and Flamengo right now is bigger than any team in Brazil, And I'm not saying that because I'm a Flamengo fan. It's just I'm analyzing uh, without passion now. Flamengo is bigger than any team right now. But if we don't direct on the right path and keeping our traditions and uh, keeping our roots, Flamengo might lose in the long run, and then we would lose, and then we would become just another club, and would lose the size that we have. When I say that, I'm talking about stadium fact and the socio torcedor, the plan, the like the how would you say in English the
The supporters, members, whatever
yes
they want to call,
yes
the
the member the support like people that go to the game, so we need to like be really careful with that, Flamengo needs to keep. Flamengo is what's Flamengo? Flamengo is the fans, okay? Like what that Flamengo is the stadium. Flamengo are the colors. Flamengo are the vibe. People singing. People from all social classes, especially lower classes, and then you're mixing Rio de Janeiro traditions, Rio de Janeiro culture, and Brazilian culture. Because Rio de Janeiro culture is Brazilian culture. It's different than São Paulo. São Paulo is more like a cosmopolitan city. It's a different style. But Flamengo is the Rio de Janeiro culture, is the Brazilian culture, and that takes the whole Brazil. Especially the north, the northeast of Brazil, and even the south. It takes the whole. Is attached to the all the people. So that's why we're big. So we gotta be really careful and not making like Flamengo. Flamengo cannot go in the in the path of modern football. If we go on the path of the modern football, we might lose support, and then we're gonna lose our head. Because then we just become one more team, one more club. We'll lose it. We'll lose its magic. We'll lose its passion, which is the Maracanã Stadium, the fans, the crowd, the Maracanã Stadium, Rio de Janeiro city, and the whole culture, the whole Brazilian culture.
Yeah, I
I don't
think.
know if you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah, now I
It's
understand. I think it's one thing is like everything else is for if the directors, the Flamengo director is too greedy, they want to suck the in the short term, you'll damage in the long term, and then it'll be too late. And the Flamengo as a club, you lose its appeal because
exactly as
the
it's appeal. Yeah,
its appeal and the fans will decrease, and in the end, sponsorship money is going to decrease, and you know all what makes the club attractive is no longer going to become attractive, and you end up with nothing. I think it's
exactly.
very, I think it's very important for this bunch of directors now to understand that. I'm not sure if they understand or not. To make sure they don't damage what has been done in the last 6 years with the previous directors that try to modernize and perhaps outsource the football department, in my opinion. And you can't do that for a football club to, live in the hands of people that don't understand the club's history. And
Yes,
and and the damage they caused was unbelievable. And
exactly, exactly.
but
It's important to keep in the professional path and well managed. That's great, and we need to do that. And of course, when you're looking at a business, you're trying to make money, and when you're trying to make money, you you tend to be around people that have money. You want to attract people that have money to make your business grow, of course. But this is not a business. This is Flamengo.
yeah,
So
it is Flamengo.
it's gotta have a mix. It's gotta have like a mix of things. We use our power of our fans. But uh, we cannot make Flamengo an elite club. It cannot be made as an elite club. It cannot be made as a club that doesn't accept all the social classes in Brazil. So
That's right.
fun. Yeah. So it's. I know what we talk about is very out there. It's very um, uh, how do you say, like, out there, like, but it's dangerous. Like, it's dangerous. Like
Exactly. I
the
think
Maracan, the way Maracanã is right now, the way the stadium is, the layout of Maracanã, the way the stadium is right now, is not been is not been Flamengo is not benefiting from it. It's not. It's ugly on TV. It doesn't have the same concept. It doesn't show too much passion. So that could make us lose because it's our image. It's our image. When people look at Maracanã in the past, there was a big heart and a lot of energy. And now you look at Maracanã. Yes, it's still better than Arena Corinthians and Arena Palmeiras. It is, of course, but it's not the same. So you gotta
it
be
is.
careful there.
It is. I think basically a Flamengo have always been an inclusive club, not an exclusive club, and so that's has to maintain that people from different walks of life support Flamengo, and they have to continue like that. Not a club only the ones that can afford to go to the stadium, and uh, and then slowly, expensive jerseys and expensive tickets, and you know,
Yes,
and nothing left. And when the number of fans decrease, lack of trophies. without trophies. No man ever wants to be associated to a winner. And if you don't win anything, what's going to happen? You're going to move on to other clubs. The new the new youngsters coming through the ranks. They
Yes,
want they want to be a fan of a club that's winning titles, winning trophies, not a club that lives from the past. No, yeah,
exactly,
exactly.
exactly.
But
But so I think like one thing that the this new regime needs to pay attention. These new uh, directors and the president of Flamengo. We need to analyze the membership. You know, the sócio torcedor, the membership, the member fans. You know, it needs to be done. I think it needs to be re uh, like we have to reanalyze. We have to like make something that we would support all the social classes, you know, and something that will integrate all the fans, you know, at least most of the fans, you know. And there is ways to do that. There are ways to do that, and you can see like in even in South America, even in the Barcelona of Ecuador, they have a better member. Uh, the member fans, you know, the membership, they have a better membership in Flamengo, you know, like there are better ways to do this where you can make money and have the people come to the stadium. But that needs to be made by honest people and people that have only interest Flamengo, you know, in Flamengo, not personal interest. You know,
yeah,
there is ways to do this. We will attract. You will have like 50,000 people, 60,000 people in Maracanã every game. You know, and
exactly.
make money too. But you need you need a nice internet system that works, that doesn't freeze. So you need a nice company that will provide that. Uh, uh, they provide a easy way to acquire the tickets, you
Yeah,
know, and not have a, like. So there's ways that we can like make a nice membership, and we need Maracanã. Flamengo needs Maracanã. And Flamengo needs to once Flamengo gets Maracanã and starts like uh, taking care of Maracanã and managing Maracanã, we need to make changes to the stadium. We need to remove the chairs from the back, you know, and we need to make changes and try to mirror the old Maracanã a little bit. That's impossible, you know. That's impossible to mirror the old Maracanã, but at least we need to make some changes and go back to the roots, you know, because this European style is really bad, you know. Like we don't want to copy anything about European soccer, Trajano. Like
yeah,
we don't want to do anything. Like we want to be professional. We want to be professional and have organized club and a club that's responsible and well managed. Of course, we want, but we cannot anything else like the way they sit in the stadium, the way they behave in the stadium. We cannot copy that. Okay, we cannot copy that because we are Brazilians. We're different people. We're passionate people. We need to stick to our rules, stick to our culture. Um, you see Brazil copying the bad, like they're getting our players, okay? They get our good players, the skillful players, the Brazilian style players, the dribbling and the show players and the crackies, and we are getting their stadium menus, you know. Fuck that.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
bullshit.
yeah. Exactly. Yeah, we doesn't fit. That's true. Bruno, for us to finish this live here, what are your real let's say hope here for 2019. What do you expect for Flamengo in 2019?
Well, to be honest, I expect Flamengo to win at least like one title, one like big title, one big championship, or either Libertadores or Campeonato Brasileiro, the Brazilian League, or Libertadores. That's what I expect. Maybe both. I really expect both, but I would be happy with one at least, because we come from since 2013 we haven't won anything. We haven't uh, achieved any big title, a big uh, championship. So that's what we all expect. And I expect to see the team uh, not only to be a champion, but the team to be playing, representing our jersey. Hopefully Abelão, the new coach, you re, you get this style back. You get our players to play like Flamengo again, not being like happy with like just like a tie or second place. Like I don't wanna be a loser anymore. I wanted to see that will for victory, and of course being the champion. And that's what we're expecting after all this, after signing all these expensive players and high-profile players that played a bigger role in last year in their teams. We expect Flamengo to. That's what we expect. Like at least one big one big championship. But that's what I want, a big championship. But to get the championship, we need to change our way of playing, and we need to change our attitude, and we need to go back to Flamengo, the way Flamengo plays, with a lot of heart and not giving up, and not being content with just a simple a simple result, like a simple victory. But Flamengo, like we would be happy to see Flamengo always trying to be not only not only winning the game but showing a good soccer, a good football time, But we know that's kind of a dream nowadays, So uh, like we said at the beginning of the broadcasting, the coaches are worried about getting that victory and the 3 points. But I think if we try to do even better, it's going to be easier to get the 3 points. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. This is Bruno Mora, director from USA. Thanks for your participation here. Trajano Roberto from Media Flamengo. Saudações rubro-negras. Bye for now.